Hey, what's up, Raider Nation? After that game yesterday, I'm a little bit fired up. The O-line plays good, and then Kolton Miller gets injured. It can't get any worse for Raider fans.
Hey, there's you.
And there's you.
Here we are together. Geno Smith, what happened, Lincoln?
Well, boy, he struggled with that coverage, and those safeties are reading his eyes, and it's taking advantage of this defense. He's got to be better, but we'll talk about it.
Absolutely. Let's get it.
Raider Nation, it's time. This is the Raiders Squad. Everything Las Vegas Raiders every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Death Star in the desert. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Commitment to excellence starts here. The Raiders Squad Show starts now.
Hey, what's up, Raider Nation? And remember, if you like the content, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. You can also follow us on our social media channels. You can see in the description below the ways that you can connect with us. And we're also on the audio side. So wherever you find your shows and podcasts, you can find us there as well. Leave a rate and review. Give us a 5-star because that will also help the channel grow. And for everyone that's already supported the show, like the video, like the content, subscribe to the show. We do appreciate you. And whether it's, Q's Locked On Raiders or the Squad Show, we do appreciate you having this be your first listen of the day or the channel be your first listen of the day. Lots to get into on this show. In the final segment, Linc and Q are going to answer some of your questions, take some of your comments. So please drop them in the chat. We'll get to them in that final segment. We're also going to talk about Geno Smith and go into depth about his performance. We're going to get into the O-line because we talked about it at nauseum last week. And we're going to do some more a little bit this week because they had a great showing. Also, Ashton Jeanty and Max Crosby balled out. And that brings us to the beginning of the show, guys. Raiders, Bears, let's get all into it. First off, you guys were there. How was the vibe like? I saw a lot of orange and navy blue. So what was the crowd like there?
It was exactly that, orange and navy blue, and it was very loud when it came to the Bears. And really, honestly, and we've talked about it in so much detail over the past few years. I hate it sitting in the press box and hearing a big play go the other way for the Bears and hearing the building erupt. And we heard that multiple times. And seeing the crowd get fired up on third and long when the Raiders are out there on the field, knowing that they're trying to help them get a big defensive stop for the Bears, it sucks. It's embarrassing. It is what it is. We kind of know that at this stage of the game. But, man, the Bears fans were really there represented, and they made it very difficult on the Raiders to hear in their own building.
As the Raiders have seen and Legion has seen since it's open, Chantel and Q, the fact is just this is not a home field advantage for the Raiders.
Yep.
Until you defend it and you get wins in that building, you're not going to scare anybody. And Vegas is a destination for people to come to. And think about it this way, the way sports are revolving around Vegas. You spend a weekend of entertainment in Vegas, you end the weekend or cap the weekend off by going to see a sporting event. Mm-hmm. And they're close to getting basketball, professional basketball, and NBA, so that's going to add to it. But it's just the way things are. There have been tons of fans from every team that the Raiders have faced when they played here in Vegas that want to come to Vegas, to see Allegiant.
There was a radio station that I'm really good friends with, ESPN 1000 out of Chicago. They literally had chartered flights, and they had booked this plan like way in the off season. We're going to make a trip. The station's going to go to Vegas, and we're going to bring all of our fans with us. So put together these packages. They were staying at Mandalay Bay, and, I mean, they were out all weekend long. So that's just kind of what it is. I know Cleveland, they do that as well. And, there's other fan bases and other, other cities that are going to do that. So like Linc said, it's a destination location. It kind of is what it is. And until the Raiders win games consistently in that building, and even then it's still going to be a struggle. It's going to be a struggle to have crowds that are the majority Raider Nation.
And for the most part, guys, look, the Raider Nation took it personally, seeing all that orange and blue in the stadium. They did do their part to get loud at times in the game. And it was very impressive. It was almost like a crowd battle in a neutral site or a bowl game or something like that. You had both fan bases going back and forth. So the Raider Nation has showed up. They just need a reason to show up.
Yep.
Give me a reason to show up. And even though the defense played well, you still came away with the loss. It's hard when the bottom pill is swallowed. The last pill is swallowed, guys. You sit here and work all you work to get to be able to go see your team, go to Vegas, enjoy yourself with a family. That's a lot of money. You come up with an L. That leaves a hole in our stomach, just like we feel right now.
Yeah, and you know what? I was actually thinking about this. I was like taking a look at the schedule, and I'm like, okay, what game am I going to go to? And then that happens. I'm like, I'm not going to spend that much money to go see the Raiders
Hello.
lose. I gotta find a game on the schedule, and that's not guaranteed. And that
No.
brings me to the Bears because I thought this was a winnable game for the Raiders. Q, you said it was a must win because let's be serious. 1-3 sounds different from 2-2. It's totally different. You're in a totally different position. So let's get right into it because there were some standouts in this game. Like there was a lot of positives actually from this game. Of course, we'll get to the negatives as well, but the O-line played very well, I thought. Right? They protected Geno. Ashton Jeanty got his holes. Jeanty had his breakout performance. Your guys' thoughts on the O-line, and please give me your grades on the O-line and how they performed.
Professor.
Well, okay. Starting off with it's easy for me because I watched the game again after the day was done yesterday. Watched it again. I'll give him a good solid B. I thought it was a good performance. It was a performance we were longing to see. It's a step in the right direction. By no means is it perfect. There's no way you're going to get me to give a perfect grade until we come with a win and we spank the team by 25 points. That's the way that you get an A in my class. But it was a B. It was a good solid performance, a step in the right direction. And guys, what I've been trying to entertain, the thought of having us entertain collectively is the Raiders need to develop offensively staple plays.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Every offense I ever played for had staple plays. We can call this. Doesn't matter what defense. We have an audible that commends it, that works well with it, or complements it, I should say. But we can call this. And the Raiders are yet to develop that. Now, I say that
Spider 2, Y banana.
Exactly. Close that you're here. I say that to say this. It actually worked against them because Q and I were talking earlier. It worked against them in the last play of the game. Because think about this. When you go back and watch this film, Chantel, the Raiders had a ton of success running to the left all day.
Mm-hmm.
That's where Ashton Jeanty made his bread and butter that day. So I believe Chip Kelly was just programmed. I'm going to call a play. We're playing for a field goal. I'm going to call a play, just a simple run some more time off the clock. Maybe we get lucky, get a first down. I'll be able to open it up and more. But they call a play to the left-hand side after Kolton Miller goes down with an ankle injury. You've got Ferguson who walks in ice cold. He only had a couple of plays sparing as an extra offensive lineman for their goal line practice. Ice cold, and you try to run the play over to the left. And I'm here to tell you guys, watching the film, him and Parham went two different ways. They split they parted like the Red Sea. That defensive tackle got penetration, plays dead.
Yep.
Every time you have penetration on a run play, plays dead, unless it's a trap. So that's, and the Raiders end up dropping the games. It's unfortunate. You never think your left tackle is going to go down the final play of the game. You have to take a TV timeout and all that other stuff to get the card out there. And I'm hoping that Colton's okay. We'll hear more about him as the week goes on. But that's a big play. You go in and you've been running the ball to the left.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let's just call it to the left. Also, you know what? I forgot I got a left tackle, a backup left tackle in there. I should have went to the right. I thought they would have been better off just running to the right. You didn't have that much success,
right?
But that would have been a way to do it. So it's little things like this that this team is still learning about themselves. This coaching staff is still learning about this team. It takes a while to build that chemistry. And I know people are sitting there saying, oh, my gosh, 1-3, the season's over. No, don't run a panic flag. It's still not ready to panic. We thought about this first month of football. Correct me if I'm wrong, Q.
Yeah.
Trying to say collectively we're going to go all 2-2.
Yeah.
We would be happy with 2-2, right?
Yeah.
One game away.
Which is what they should be this morning.
Absolutely.
They absolutely should be 2-2 right now.
Coming into the season, I thought it was going to be a gamble going against the Chargers, 50-50. Didn't know what to make of the Commanders. They did go to the NFC Championship game last year, and even though they had a ton of injuries, still didn't know what to make. You didn't know that, predicting the season. They let one get away there. Okay, we see how the Chargers are. You kind of let one get away with the turnovers. Geno Smith, you cannot turn over the ball four times. You can't do it. It's just impossible. Defense played out of its mind.
Yep. Yeah, they did.
Max Crosby would have won Player of the Year after that game.
Right.
Yeah.
He did everything. I mean, and it's almost what's unfortunate. The Raiders couldn't finish it off with a win because compliment a grand day.
Mm-hmm.
The best way to compliment a grand day is to win. Every network will be talking about Max Crosby ad nauseum today. If he pulled a TJ Watt or what the Miles Garrett or one of these other defensive ends around the league have done throughout their career, and he did it and won the game. But because they didn't lost, it's a mute point. I mean, they lost, it's a mute point.
Yeah. It's that simple. It's that simple. I mean, look, Max Crosby he just had an outstanding day. Like we've all been talking about, make those big impactful plays. He made multiple impactful plays, right? 3 passes to defense, had an interception, had plenty of TFLs. I mean, he was a menace the whole game. Ashton Jeanty, fantastic game. And look, let's give a lot of props to JPJ as well. Yes. JPJ was out there and he was balling. JPJ was showing the kind of the results of a guy who had missed 2 games. Yes, he showed his ass. Exactly. That's the way to put it. Showed his ass. His ass. I'll say it. Missed a couple games and was out there and just really was balling. And even on that first Geno Smith interception, you got to give credit to JPJ. That's a house call. Byard's taking it to the house, but JPJ, I don't know if you saw it on the film, he literally squared up and said, I'm tackling this dude. And not only did he tackle him, he buried him. Like some of Byard is still in Allegiant Stadium's floor, right?
JPJ made 2 tackles. Yeah. Both the interceptions.
Both the interceptions. Exactly. And that's just want to.
Yeah.
That's just want to. And so that first interception, that's going back to the house.
Yeah.
So he saved 4 points because they ended up ultimately settling on a field goal on that. So JPJ, he clearly showed why, what they miss when he's not out there. And, it's one of those things. If they're maybe on the fence with you, maybe should he be out there? Should he not be out there? Prove why you're supposed to be out there.
It's the intangible guys that are welcome. And when you watch that film, it's the small things. It's the details. It's not so much, the block. That's the big part. That's what your responsibility. You're out there as a blocker. But it's the small thing, hustling to the ball. You saw the way that he performed on the screen for Brock Bowers to get him out and get that first down. Just making that block on the end. It was probably could call it a holding the way it came down, but at the same point they didn't call it. But it was a great block. His tenacity, his attitude is what this offensive line is missing.
Yep.
And that's what I was talking about. When you talk about who's going to be your mauler in the middle, that's him.
Yep.
That's why he's playing that guard spot. That's why you free him up from the responsibilities of having to make every call and get everybody lined up. I just want you to go out and play and release that attitude. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I want out there. And that's what you saw. So if you can keep that out of this young man, keep him on the field, because we know with the concussion, everything that's going on, it's touch and field every week. But if you can keep that, you'll create some attitude with this offensive line. You just need reps in games to do it.
And now it's going to be difficult with Colton Miller, most likely going to miss some time. So
when it rains, it pours.
Yep.
Yeah, and they were saying that was an ankle injury. My question to you guys is, how does this O-line look without a Kolton Miller, who's probably been the most steady guy on this O-line at left tackle? I mean, this is an O-line that seemed like they finally just got some continuity and started playing well. Right. JPJ was balling out. Like, JPJ was making a statement in that game. And then Kolton Miller goes down. So how is this going to affect the O-line now moving forward? We already know that there's not a lot of depth. Yeah. Okay. So that's kind of the short way to put it. Yeah. But Q, why don't you kind of elaborate on that? Like, how will the O-line look without Kolton Miller, and how much do you think they're going to struggle without him?
I think they're going to struggle a lot. I mean, look, we've seen what happens when they don't have continuity, right? They had the starting 5 out there for only the first time since week 1, and then all of a sudden he goes down, and I saw him in the locker room after the game, and, he was on crutches going to the shower. So I'm assuming it's probably like a high ankle sprain. When we get to talk to Coach Carroll this morning, we'll definitely ask him again, and hopefully we get an update. But sooner rather than later, we'll find out. I don't think he's going to play next week. That's just kind of my gut feeling, but I'm not a doctor, so we'll see what happens. But without him, he is the guy. He's the veteran offensive lineman there. He kind of they go as he goes. JPJ is the mauler in the middle. He's the tough guy, but Kolton Miller keeps it all together, right? He's, like I've been saying, everyone on the right side of Kolton, needs an adjustment and needs some work, and needs to make sure that they're all on the same page. Well, he keeps them right. So yeah, I mean, Kolton Miller going down, that's a big deal, especially because they don't have that depth that you mentioned.
Colton's my guy because he's a pillar of consistency. You know what you get with him his entire career. You watch him. There's times he struggled, obviously, the injuries and being worn down or what have you. That happens to everybody. But there are times you just know that that's taken care of. That's a hard hole. That's a big hole to fill, guys.
Yep.
Left tackle. That's a big hole to fill. You usually have the premium rushers on the defensive right, the offensive left, and you're trying to fill it with practically someone who's unknown.
Right.
Or, hasn't played a lot. And the Raiders finally had an answer, in my opinion, this game on how to get the most protection without using the most guys. And they played well. That's when collectively the blocking scheme for Geno Smith. So he had more time in this game. He just chose to throw it to the wrong teams.
Yeah, the offensive line was not the problem in this game.
Exactly.
Like, they were the problem last week, but we can't put that on them this week. Not at all.
The short answer to your question, Chantel, it's a big hole.
Yep.
It's a huge hole, especially at this time. The last position group that could afford to have an injury is the offensive line.
And we kind of talked about this during training camp. Actually, that was like the one, I guess, positional group that couldn't really afford to have any injuries. And then you lose, your main guy on the O-line that's been extremely solid. Going from the O-line to Ashton Jeanty, because the O-line played so well, Ashton Jeanty had a great game. How nice was it for you guys to kind of see him have that breakout performance? And this was a game that we were kind of waiting for. He heard a lot of criticism before that. And I feel like that's what Jeanty needed. That's what the Raiders fans wanted to see, because for a really long time, for the first, 3 games, there was absolutely no run game. The O-line starts playing well. Jeanty balls out. How good was it to see the Raiders get the run game going? Because they look like a different team when they're able to run the ball, Q.
That's their identity. That's who I think their identity should be, right? A strong run game, play strong defense, and have complementary play from the offense and play from the quarterback, I should say. That's what it looks like, and that's what we all expected when the Raiders drafted Ashton Jeanty, was to have performances like that. And we all knew that he was getting closer and closer, and he had moments where he was flashing. And then that game on Sunday is when he really breaks out and shows what he can do. The thing about it is, going into it, if he was going to have a breakout game, it should have been against the Bears. We knew that the defensive line was struggling to stop the run. They were giving up about 5.5 yards per carry, and it showed. And Ashton Jeanty took advantage of it. I also love the fact that he went back to his old stance, the way that he stands in the backfield where he was comfortable, not with what the coaching staff told him that they wanted to do. He decided, you know what, I'm going to go back to what makes me comfortable and makes me just go out there and do what I do. And we asked him after the game about that, and he said, yeah. And they asked, what's the advantage of it? He says, not really an advantage. It's just I'm comfortable. So if he's comfortable, he went over 2,600 yards last year at Boise State. I'm going to go ahead and let him rock with what's comfortable. And so you saw what it looked like yesterday.
I was asked 3 times yesterday at the stadium, why is he standing straight up in the backfield? I said, well, and I didn't know what Q just helped us to know, say, and to hear, understand. But I was like, he's not that tall. He needs to help see over it. He's so far deep. And again, what we saw yesterday is still the continued work in progress. I believe this team is better suited to take snaps from under center and run the ball that way. I do. I think they're more productive that way. I see a little bit more effort. Not necessarily wrong choice of words. I see a little bit more zip in the way they call plays when he's in the straight back eye back formation, not in the gun runs, not in the pistol, straight eye back formation without a fullback in front of me. I saw production yesterday. I'm wondering if they can build on that. Again, we're still learning about this team.
Right.
It was a great day for Ashton Jeanty. I think we kind of spoke with him. We talked about how big of a game does he has to have. We talked about him getting involved in almost 150 yards. Well, he did that and then some, right? There's only one ball.
Yeah.
So, there's going to be people who are crying, well, why don't you get more Brock Bowers? Why don't you have more Trey Tucker? There's only one ball.
Yeah.
Oh, here's the big thing that I want to point out to you guys, and I already talked to Q about it, Chantel, but our people at home. Yesterday, the Raiders had a total of 52 offensive plays. I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that is a very low number. When you talk about 4 quarters of football, 52 plays, on average, I can recall running anywhere from 70 to 75 plays on average. You're taking a quarter away from that and still trying to be productive. This team has yet to define a rhythm because they haven't played enough to establish a game day rhythm. There are too many 3 and outs. There are too many short series. There are too many turnovers. That change the field real quick. I mean, there are so many things that are happening. It's hard to get in a rhythm. And you see what happens when, the Bears come out and they're like, you know what? They're trying to do everything they can to lose the game.
Yeah.
Blatant disrespect.
Yeah.
Going for it on 4th down in their own territory. Like, and your defense. Oh, we don't care about your defense. We're just going to do what we did. Defense played phenomenal for 3.5 quarters, started to break down at the end, but offense wasn't doing this part. I mean, again, we go back to the turnovers, we go by all these intangibles. Ashton Jeanty had a tremendous game. I just wish they could have capitalized with a win.
Defense was on the field for over 33 minutes. Over 33 minutes. They're not going to win a lot of games.
And you saw how they broke down in the end.
Yep.
You saw how they broke down.
They were dog tired in the end.
Exactly.
As they should be.
And as you know, you got to keep the defense off the field so they don't get tired, that they don't get worn out. And another thing I just want to mention, just as a team, 240 yards on the ground. Like, it wasn't just an effort by Ashton Jeanty. We saw Raheem Mostert and how great he can be as well. The run game was really working. And one more thing, I think we do definitely got to mention Max Crosby again, because he was doing absolutely everything.
Everything. Yep.
Everything Max Crosby was supposed to do and more, he did it. And the stats showed that as well. So there were a lot of positives, but we're going to get to the negatives in the next segment. We talked about it a little bit, but we got to talk a little bit about Geno Smith. That's coming up in the next segment, guys. So keep it locked here on the Locked On Network. You're watching or listening to the Raider Squad Show. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Every day we make decisions, but on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Playing PrizePicks is such a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on player projections, like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley rushing for a touchdown, and you're in the game. What I really like about PrizePicks is they have a bunch of promotions all the time, every week, and you can actually make a little bit of more money that way, and sometimes even play for free. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. And we got to hear from our other sponsor as well. So that's 5 Hour Energy, guys. And caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5 Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors, each 2-ounce shot packs, the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar. So that's the best part, 0 sugar crashes. And so that's kind of what I like about 5 Hour Energy. And they actually have good tasting 5 Hour Energy shots. It doesn't taste like medicine. So enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5 Hour Energy shots. Get the favorites you love or be bold and try something new in store and online at www.5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. Welcome back, Raider Nation. Remember, if you like the content, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And if you already have, we do appreciate you. Remember, in the final segment of the show, we're going to take a little bit more time, and Q and Linc are going to answer some of your questions. And I actually had some from Twitter because I was going off on Twitter yesterday, guys. I was heated. I was aggressive, and it was time to be aggressive, guys, because I think as a longtime Raiders fan, when the Raiders decided that they were not going to go out in the draft and draft a quarterback and develop a quarterback, because I just want to mention, we did see Jackson Dart win against the Chargers. That was crazy to me. But nonetheless, he was one of the quarterbacks available. We know Shadur Sanders was available. Not to say that they're better than Geno Smith, but the Raiders chose to not go in the draft and draft a quarterback and develop a quarterback. They chose to trade a third-round pick to go get Geno Smith. And at the time, I was like, okay, a third rounder, whatever, right? At the time, based off what Geno did in Seattle, you could argue maybe he was top 15. Maybe that was an argument that we had earlier in the season. But when he plays like that, and you're giving away, you throw 3 interceptions, you lead the league in interceptions. That might change tonight because of some of the games, but you lead the lead in interceptions, guys. And you're just not reading coverages. Like, it's not on the O-line. None of those interceptions were on the O-line. A couple of weeks ago, we could have blamed the O-line for a lot. Not this week. What were your guys' thoughts on Geno Smith's performance? Q, we'll go with you first.
It was bad. I mean, it's just, there's no other way to put it. You know, I'm not going to try to put lipstick on a pig, man. I mean, it was bad, you know, and unfortunately for him, he's thrown through 6 interceptions in 2 home games, right? And that can't happen. And everything that we kept hearing about Geno leading into this season was, man, he plays really, really well indoors. Obviously not, because he's thrown, like I said, 6 interceptions at 2 home games. And I don't know what it is about being at home, or if he's a little bit more jacked up. I know that a lot of people were saying that about him after that Chargers game, that he was just so amped up going into it that he was just trying to do too much. But at some point, you got to settle down. You got to be the leader. And this is exactly why the Raiders did not draft a quarterback high, because they didn't want to have a performance like this from Geno and then hear everyone saying it's time for the next guy. like what you saw in New York with the Giants, right? Russell Wilson has a bad performance. Everyone's get him out of here. Get him out of here. The Raiders didn't put Geno in that position, but he's got to reward them for that. The Raiders gave him the keys to the car and said, hey, we're trusting you with this franchise. He's got to go out there and he's got to show why they did that. And he's got to be the starting quarterback, the franchise quarterback, the leader in the clubhouse. And right now he's not. He literally lost them the game yesterday. Like, there's no other way to put it. We could blame the offensive line for everything that we did last week. Well, let's keep it a buck. He cost them the game yesterday. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Simple.
I think it's a combination of a few things. I think it's a combination of not feeling totally comfortable with the flow of the games and getting into games. We've seen him do well. There's also been a lot of passes that we've watched out of Geno Smith so far this season. We're only through 4 games that kind of there was 3 guys around. Wow. Oh, we got that in. Wow. Woo, good play. When it's not interception. The lack of protection for the first 3 games, I think, translates. The lack of consistency, the lack of getting into a patient a role, whether that's not scripted, for the first set of plays that come out, having to go out there, and more importantly, just because they've had so little plays offensively, collectively. When you run the total number of plays out of 4 games, and you look at the numbers compared to everywhere else, time of possession, without a consistent running game, without a consistent passing game, this offense was in jeopardy. I mean, it's just being a no-show. So when we see a game like that, and of course we have Ashton Jeanty on the other side doing everything, the quarterback loses, there's going to be calls for his head. Absolutely. Get somebody else in, Kenny Pickett.
Right.
Dude,
yeah,
no,
I mean, look,
no.
there's not a better option on the roster right now. I mean,
you have to just, this is stuff that you have to take. And it's unfortunate for Geno because I feel he's trying to press too hard to be that guy, to be that quarterback that everybody's talking about out there. Well, Patrick Mahomes had a great game, or, Lamar Jackson. Everybody wants to talk about the quarterback. I'm sure Geno wants to be in that conversation, but he's got to do better. There have been at least the last 3 teams that this team has played have done a great job at disguising the Tampa 2, covering the Tampa 2. And he's thrown 3 safeties, interceptions so far in 4 games out of the Tampa 2. They're jumping on his go routes. They know where he wants to go, and they're jumping on it. He's got to be better.
Now, you guys kind of already answered the question because there were a lot of fans on, Twitter X, whatever you want to call it, that were calling for Kenny Pickett time. But
nobody's calling for Kenny Pickett. I know you're right. People are on Twitter and in the chat here talking about Kenny Pickett. I get it, but nobody's calling for Kenny Pickett. There's a reason why Kenny Pickett's on team 4 in 2 seasons or whatever. I mean, he went from Pittsburgh to Philly to Cleveland to the Raiders. I mean, look, there's a reason for that. If this dude was a all-time franchise quarterback and the guy that was going to take you to the promised land, guess what? He would not be on team 4 right now. And he's still trying to learn as well. So again, there's no better option on the Raiders right now. They've just got to weather the storm with Geno. And it sucks to say that because it's a very winnable game and they lost it because of the turnovers of Geno. But that's what you got. That's who your starting quarterback is. You got to work with. Just like Pete Carroll said last week, the offensive line is who we have. We got this. Well, this is who the Raiders have at quarterback right now.
Now, mark my words. These next 2 games, the next 2 games for the Raiders are winnable. But if Geno goes out and have phenomenal games, everyone's going to go, oh, my gosh, I'm so glad we got him from Seattle. I know that is so if they're able to translate and wins. And this is what's unfortunate. When you have a game like this, when you can talk about Ashton Jeanty, when you can talk about a Mad Max Crosby going off, and you can talk about other players from other plays, it's unfortunate because you don't have the win. We can't have it in that light. We can't talk about it like that.
Right.
We have to talk about the bads. And Geno, Q said it, you said it, and of course, it's absolutely right. Geno lost this game. You cannot turn over the ball the way they did. Defense, if Chicago had a better offense, this wouldn't even be a close score.
Right, yeah. No, if it was a good team that the Raiders faced, it would have been a whooping.
And then we were talking about, okay, the whole team needs to be fired. Coaching staff and everybody else. So it's one of those unfortunates. The Raiders are now looking at 1-3. They have a chance to rebound, but they've got to start getting some wins to build some confidence, and it starts now.
Yeah, and here's the thing. It's like, it's not Kenny Pickett time at all, but Geno has to play like the bread that they're paying him because he is our guy. I don't want to say stuck with him, but we're kind of stuck with him.
No,
right?
Because
it is. Yeah. We're stuck. We're stuck with
not sitting on the open market out there on the couch waiting for the phone call.
Right.
He's going to come in and play quarterback. Q,
right.
You have nothing better to do. Why don't you give it a try? No. There's not a capable quarterback that's just sitting out there for the league to say, hey, how about we give you a chance? You'll make everything right. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, but I do think he has to turn it around quickly because he cannot continue to have games where he has 3 interceptions in a game and throws away a game when your O-line is playing like that. And then also your defense is playing pretty good as well. And Max Crosby's balling out. I think that's kind of the issue because we've seen, I would say 2 really terrible games from Geno, but I think the other ones you couldn't really blame him because the O-line. Like he wasn't really getting, a lot of protection. He was still throwing in double and triple coverage, but it's just the decision making and like reading coverages that I think is frustrating for fans to see because he's clearly not seeing that. And so when Pete Carroll was asked during the post-game presser, he shut it down right away. He just said, nope, on to the next, right? Next question, because if we know that Geno Smith has to be that guy. What do you think a game like this is doing to him mentally, Link? What does a game like this do to a player mentally?
If you go back and hear the presser conference after the game, you can hear a very stand-up guy taking all the responsibility on his shoulders, saying, I got to play better, which I commend. I mean, the quarterbacks and the coaches are the most visible personalities in the locker room. And so they should take it. Everything should be their fault, in my opinion. If I'm the head coach and I'm the quarterback, you know what? I got to play better. No matter the outcome, no matter how I did my statistics, no matter that, I got to play better. If I'm the coach, we got to play better. I got to coach them better. Everyone needs to take responsibility, ownership. That to me that shows maturity, that shows leadership, and other people get behind that. And you want to rally. Now you just have to translate with the results and win. Geno has to play better. But this sort of moniker has been following him around his whole career. And he's been a journeyman around leagues. No one's, when I go back to the case with Rich Gannon, I remember when John Gruden gave him the keys to the Raiders. Said, this is your team. Put it in your hands. And everything we took off. But the first year was a little bit of a struggle. We had to learn our way. We had to learn about it. I think Chip Kelly has given Geno Smith a lot more responsibility. There's a lot more check with me's. They need to hone that in at the line of scrimmage, give better options, because now we see a true blueprint of how defenses are going to play the Raiders, probably for the rest of the year. They're going to load the box up. They're going to play Tampa 2, and they're going to dare you to throw them long because that's what they did. They put 8 men in the box. You're going to run 12-man personnel. We're going to put 8 men in the box. We're going to isolate. We're going to show you a one-high safety look. We're going to show you one high safety look. You think you can take advantage of the pass. I'm daring you to pass. I've got bump and run coverage on the outside receivers. I'm daring you. I'm to take away the run. I'm daring you to pass. You don't have that in your repertoire to go up frequently against that one-on-one. And then after you snap the ball, think you got one-on-one coverage, they back out and play Tampa 2. That route that you just thought was wide open is gone. Now I'm panicking. What do I do with the ball? I'm forced to try to throw something up. Tip my hat to Geno using his legs yesterday.
Yeah,
use his legs a couple of days.
Did a good job.
Don't force the ball. Take it down, run it, get some yards. Use your legs. That's commendable. That's a work in progress and work in the right direction. Just cannot do with the interceptions. That's the big thing. Cannot do with that.
Yeah, he's got to protect the ball, and he knows that. And he said that last time he had a 3 interception performance, and he cleaned it up the next week. But he's got to be consistent. Like I always say, who are you going to be consistently? And right now, he's a guy who turns the ball over consistently. The Raiders aren't going to win very many games like that. They're not a good enough team to be able to overcome those kind of turnovers. And they just about did it on Sunday because, again, they were going up against a Bears team that's not a very good team either, right? They're a team. Yeah. I was wondering, so many people had asked me going into that game, what do you think? And I kept saying, I don't know who this Bears team is. Are they the team that beat the brakes off the Cowboys? Are they getting better? Or is that just the Cowboys stink? And now about halfway through the game, I was like, no, the Bears just stink. They're not a very good team, right? And they tried to assist the Raiders in losing that game. They kept trying to give the game back to the Raiders, and the Raiders kept trying to give it back to the Bears. It's like, no, you take it. No, you take it. No, you take it. I don't want it. You take it. Nobody really wanted to win that game. Ultimately, Chicago does, but just too many. Those turnovers are killers. You just cannot have that. And Geno seems to be really kind of winding up when he throws it. Seems like he's trying to hit that fastball every time. And when he starts to do his little wind up and let it rip, that's when everyone breaks on the ball. I even thought on the last drive when they were trying to get in field goal range, and they kept hitting those quick hitters on the outside, I thought someone was going to jump that because it was just so obvious what was coming.
True story.
Every time I said, oh, here it comes. And I just knew somebody was going to jump in and take it to the house. They didn't. But that's what felt like to me that it was on the way.
And see, that's the thing. When you don't have an offense that's opened up enough, creative enough, and can explore enough because it's just a very small sample size, you do become very predictable. And much to Q's point, defenses are seeing the same thing. Mm-hmm. Oh, we know what you're going to do. We know where you're going to go. And so they try to take it away. Now what's left? We're going to take Ashton Jeanty out of the equation. Geno, you're going to have to beat us. Oh, by the way, we're going to double team Brock Bowers. Where are you going to go now? These are things that they have to explore. They have to develop. And I know that people are impatient. They want wins. I get it. It just does not happen overnight. This team is still learning about itself with all the changes that still happen. And that's why it's unfortunate there's going to be a change in this offensive line, because that's going to affect their play. But, Chantel, you made for the first time this season, the offensive line plays well. We're in game 4.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's about to change.
And it's about to change.
Yeah. And so we might see some more struggle performances by Geno this season. I will ask you guys this, though. He's 34 years old, and I don't know what it actually is other than him not reading coverages properly or, throwing into double or triple coverage. But you talked about him using his legs a little bit. And we know that kind of makes him more of a dynamic player because Geno does have that capability. But do you also feel like there's something physically not the same with Geno in terms of athleticism at 34 years old? And it's just a question I wanted to ask you guys, because he is getting older and he has taken a lot of hits. He's been behind some really bad O-lines from the beginning of his career, right? So do you think that's also an aspect of why he's struggling? And I think it might be a fair question. Q Linc?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair question, and it could be a little bit of it. But look, the reality is he hasn't been a starter his whole career. So, I mean, he's got wear and tear on his body, but probably not as much as your average 34-year-old. I think the reality is that just Geno's struggling. He's just not playing well. He's not playing consistently right now. And, yeah, he's using his legs when he can, and he's had to because the offensive line hasn't been there. And, instead of forcing the ball, as he did on Sunday, he was able to get out of the pocket and pick up some big yardage, which is great. He's capable of that. Putting that on film is good because now the teams have to be aware of that. But at the end of the day, it all is going to boil down to the nuts and bolts of it and him doing his job, which is protecting the ball, put the Raiders in the best position to succeed. And right now he's not doing that. That's unfortunate. Could you imagine what the noise would be right now if the Raiders had gone and drafted a first-round quarterback?
Oh, yeah.
Put him in.
How loud the noise would be right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why they didn't do it. That's why they said we're not going to have that moment where our quarterback has a bad game and everyone and their mother is screaming for the rookie. That's just it.
Geno is athletic enough to where you can input some things like that in the game plan. However, there's a lot of the misdirection and the naked boots that aren't fooling anybody because you haven't run to the other way enough.
Right.
For us to believe that there's a chance that you're going to run that way. We know it's a misdirection. We know it's a boot. And we know that you like to do these things to find a way to come back to Brock Bowers and use the wide side of the field. Defenses are picking up on that. But what Geno needs to realize, especially in this part of the season, teams are going to play Tampa 2. They're going to play a 4-man rush because they believe they can get through your offensive line. They're going to play 2 deep man underneath. So the corners and the linebackers are going to have their back to the line. It's going to be the safeties that are deep away. You should use your legs. You should find a way to use your legs. But also, I will say this, because these are our best option at quarterback, get your ass down. Save yourself. Use the rules to protect you. Slide, get out of bounds, throw the ball away, whatever you can to protect yourself, to save the hit. Because, yes, you are 34, but I don't necessarily put an age on that, a number on that age, because we've got guys playing there to 43, 44 years old, especially at quarterback. They don't get hit. Okay, they don't get hit during the week. The only time they get hit is during the game. That's why you want to protect yourself. Be smart. Understand the rules. These are just ways that you advance your career as you're learning that, this is what you're going to have to go to when it comes down to it.
Yeah, and I think the rules are set up to have the quarterback protected. I think, so I'm seeing a lot of things in the chat, and Raider Nation, keep the comments coming because Q and Linc are going to be answering your questions in the final segment. Yeah, Q knows ball, and he's the hardest working man in the business, right? I will say this, though. Q, you mentioned, if they would have drafted a quarterback, we would have heard all the noise, put the young guy in, the young guy in. But I think and I'm just speaking as a Raiders fan right now, as a Raiders fan, for me, I already knew we weren't going to win the Super Bowl this year, right? Based off the pieces that we had. Right. And it's I would have rather them have gone out, drafted a quarterback and tried to develop him, because I would have rather sat in in losing situations and known okay, my quarterback's getting better than being a competitive team and then having losses that are just frustrating to watch, where the O-line's playing good, you're running back a young rookie's balling out, the defense is playing good, and you're losing your games because of a quarterback that is making mistakes. that we've seen him make mistakes. Like, this is not, Geno shouldn't be playing like Geno with the Jets 2.0. That's not what should be happening, right? So for me, it's like, you remember when they drafted Derek Carr in 2014? They won 2 games. They
I
won.
sure do.
So the first game that they won was against the Chiefs in November. And then the second game was I was at this game. They won against the 49ers at the Battle of the Bay. They had 2 wins by the second week of December. But I was like, okay, whatever. We've seen Derek Carr take a little bit of a step throughout that. The next season, they won 4 games. The year after that, they went 12-4 and went to the playoffs. Like, I think fans just want to see a progression of success, right?
Yeah,
and I think with Geno, we're just like, well, we're stuck with him. And that's kind of the upsetting thing, because we know he can play good, but it's like just putting it all together. Do you guys think that's just a timing thing of like how long he's also been with this offense?
I think it's a combination of a lot. I think, honestly, at the end of the day, the Raiders still have to go get their franchise quarterback. They don't have one, right? They'll have to get him sooner rather than later. Geno's on a couple-year deal. He's with the team for now. I think, to your point, a young quarterback, if they had drafted one, would have gave this team and gave the fan base hope. You know, there's hope on the way at some point. We don't know when he's going to be ready, just like Jackson Dart is doing in New York. Now, he actually won the game as well, so that's even bigger. But that gave them a boost of energy. They know that they're not going to be a very good team. Like, Pete Carroll said he wants to win games. He said that he's going to win a bunch of games. He wants to win right now. He doesn't want to ramp up, period. But we still know that this is, if you're not calling it a rebuild, it's a retool. Whatever you want to call it, we just know what it is. When you get a new coaching staff in place, you're basically pressing the reset button. It's almost like playing PlayStation back in the day. You start losing, all of a sudden your foot happens to hit the power button. Okay, I was the only one who did that. Fine, that's fine. Whatever the case may be, it's a soft reset, right? And so they're trying to figure things out. They bring in a veteran because they want to win games, right? And the quarterback class wasn't the sexiest quarterback class either. So they said, okay, our best option, instead of forcing a quarterback that we don't know, let's go get a guy that we do know and we've had success with and can lead this team and have an opportunity to actually lead his own team, where he's not sitting behind Russ or, hey, this is Russ's team. So now he's getting that opportunity, and that could buy them some more time. That's what I feel like that they're doing. It's just when you have a game like you have from Geno on yesterday, obviously that's magnified times 10.
When you look at the amount of turnover on this coaching staff and this roster in the last 4 years, I'm impressed the Raiders can put a team out there that we can recognize. There has been no consistency, no at all with players, coaches, schemes,
GMs.
There's so right. What are we expecting? Look, as Raider fans, we want them to be competitive. I'm practical. I understand that. We brought in a new coach. We're trying to build a program. I understand that. I'm realistic. Am I saying that they're ready to challenge for a Super Bowl? No. Do I think this team is capable of getting in the playoffs? I don't want them in the playoffs because I'm afraid they're going to get embarrassed right now, the way they play. Okay? Well, we're only in week 4. Would I like to see a bigger sample size to give me hope for the next season? Yes. You want to see them building for the future, obviously, and I get that. But I'm a little reluctant when people say the word develop, because how do you develop young guys these days? When you're limited in practice, you're limited in plays, in games, and more importantly, you're trying to teach a scheme. More than likely, most of these college kids who are coming in the league and high expectations of rookies don't know anything about. We had an offensive lineman after the Seattle preseason game said, "I've never done solid count before." Whoa. Okay, we've got a lot to learn. Okay, and it's only trial by fire. So, yes, what would put our heart to ease if they won some of these games? Well, what was realistic when we looked at this season? I had them around 8 wins.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
If they're able to double their output from a year ago, that's a successful season.
That's a win. That's definitely a win. Yep.
And it's part of the conversation I was having with guys yesterday. I said, I remember John Gruden's first year. I think we went 8-8. I could be wrong, but I think we went 8-8.
It was 8-8, yeah.
After Joe Bugles the year before, may he rest in heaven, we only won, I think, 3 games or maybe 4 games that year. So we had a winning production. It takes time to build a team. And it's hard to develop players. Even if they drafted a quarterback, much to Q's point that he said earlier, there would be people who are clamoring for, put that guy in.
Yep.
Put Q in. I don't want to see Geno Smith. I don't care we drafted Q, 5th round, whatever. Put him in.
Yep.
Like they were doing Aiden O'Connell. That turned out a disaster for that young man. He can't stay healthy because of the shots that he took. But there has been no consistency. There's been no fluid. There has been no set pattern for this offense, this defense, this coaching staff, or anybody for the last couple of years. It's hard to win games in the National Football League on a professional level when you have that much inconsistency.
That's the biggest key, I'm telling you. And that's why I know Raider fans always want to, fire the coach, fire the GM, fire this guy, fire that guy. Well, they did that, and they've done it too much. When you do that, you can't get the kind of players that the coach wants, right? Because look, you still have players on the roster that are Josh McDaniels guys.
Exactly.
Right. And then you have AP guys, and now you have Pete Carroll guys, and you've got 3 GMs. And it's just like, you can never build a team in the image of what you want if you're always having constant turnover. And that's unfortunately what's plagued this organization.
Yeah, and coming up in the next segment, guys, we're going to take a couple of minutes and just talk about what we've seen after 4 weeks from Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly, and just this, new era for the Raiders. We'll get to that in the next segment, Raider Nation. And then the final segment, Q and Link are going to be answering some of your questions. So keep it locked here on the Locked On Network. You're listening or watching the Raider Squad Show. Guys, you probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Go Long. If you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's definitely time to meet Rugiet Go Long. Go Long combines 2 doctor-trusted medications in one dual-action formula, so you can get hard and go the distance. Ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom? Head to Rugiet.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for 15% off your first order. That's RUGIET.com, promo code LOCKEDONNFL. Make sure to use our code so they know we sent you. Well, welcome back, Raider Nation. And remember, if you like the content, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And we do appreciate you making this your first listen of your day. Guys, really quickly, it's a whole new regime for the Raiders, new coaching staff. That's a new offense. What are your guys' thoughts so far on what Pete Carroll has kind of done in terms of trying to change, just what the locker room and culture is like? Because we've seen it, and despite the fact of being 1-3, there are some positives to take out of it. Q, what are your thoughts so far on what Pete and Chip has done?
I mean, I think that Pete has provided, some energy, some excitement. He's got the players to believe in themselves. He's got the players to, to buy into what he's selling and to compete and always go out there and put your best effort forward. And I think that's part of the culture building. I think it's a continue of the culture building that AP was doing. I give him a lot of credit for what he was able to do in a short amount of time, that he was getting the culture started to turn around. And that's what, the Raiders need. They have not had a winning culture in a long time in this organization. So they're trying to develop that. And these players, I know from being in the locker room, they do believe in the process. Like Max Crosby told us last night, we're so close. You guys have no idea how close we are to winning. And this is coming off that monster performance. So he's not as down as a lot of Raider Nation is. And he's not even as down as much as I am, because I, look at this team as you should be 2-2 right now. You should have finished the first quarter of the season with a 500 record. And I know that would have been a lot better feeling right now for Raider Nation than that 1-3 record is, especially when you feel like you let one slip away. There's certain games that you just got to get when you have that opportunity, and the Raiders had that opportunity to get it. So I think that Pete's getting this turned in the right direction, but now you've got to start seeing results. You got to start seeing some W's, right, as opposed to all these L's, because you're right, a 3-game losing streak. At some point, the players in the locker room are going to say, well, maybe this isn't working. They'll start questioning it. I could tell you from being in the locker room last night, they're not there right now. They're not questioning that. Do they want to win? Absolutely. But they believe in their coach. They believe in the coaches around them. They believe in the players around them, that they're going to all put the best foot forward and keep grinding, and they're going to get where they need to go. But they need to win soon.
When I look at this organization, especially this season, what I'm most impressed with is across the board, from players to coaches and otherwise, even administrators, there are a lot of people who are on prove-it contracts, in my opinion. Short but sweet. Whether it's older players, some of the older players we talked about, getting some of those prove-it contracts to show what they can do. A lot of things on this coaching staff. I do believe there's a prove-it time for Patrick Graham. I do believe there's a prove-it time for Chip Kelly coming back to the National Football League after having a short stint, his time ago with Philadelphia, coming back to the National Football League. I feel that he has a lot to prove to himself to say that he's capable of being a head coach, because there'll be a lot of people who reclaim, if he does well, there'll be a lot of people who mention his name. He has that experience. But what I see Pete Carroll doing right now is building a program. Building a program that has some form of sustainability once some of these prove-it contracts are going down. And most notably, starting with the head coach. He's 74 years old. How much longer do you think he's going to do it? How much longer do you think he's going to show that energy? Now, his energy has been infectious. The team has taken it over, which is great. He's taken responsibility for everything under the sun, saying, I need to get it better, which is great. Absolutely wonderful. That shows you how to build a program going forward. And these new up-and-coming coaches need to take note of it because that's part of it. But to Q's point, it all translates back to wins. That's all. Yeah. What it comes down to, how many games have you won?
Right.
Because that's what players ultimately are going to believe in when it comes towards the end of the season.
Yeah, and I think with Pete coaching and also them getting Geno Smith, I think everyone kind of believed they have like this small window of success. Yeah. And I think everyone kind of agrees with that. But at the same time, I think that there is a little bit of hope for Raider Nation because there are still some pieces. And Q, you made a great point. Like Pete still has the room. This was a loss that the Raiders gave away this game to the Bears. Like the Bears didn't go and win it. They didn't take it from the Raiders. The Raiders just let them win it. That's kind of how I looked at it.
It felt like it is so funny. It was about midway through the third quarter. I kept feeling like, man, this is the making of a heartbreaker. It just felt like, and as Raider Nation, as Raider fans, right? You get that feeling like, man, this just doesn't seem like this is going in the direction that it needs to go. And when the Raiders settled for a field goal and didn't get a touchdown, you kind of knew then, oh boy, look out. I think I tweeted out multiple times covering the game, buckle up, because I just kind of realized that this is what this is going to be. We've been down this road too many times. And the results were the same on yesterday. I
have never been a fan forever playing for a field goal. It doesn't matter what part of the game. I have never been a fan. I'm like, look, I want us to play smart, but I think because we're adults, we can trust that we're going to play smart. Sometimes it doesn't always happen, but I have never appreciated conservative play. And as this whole thing was unfolding, even at the end of the game, speaking on the field goal that he was talking about, playing at the end of the game to put yourself in a position to win, I think you just put too much faith in that you've got a good kicker. Even though special teams have been a little bit down this year, that you've got a good kicker that we're going to be able to put it and win this game.
Right.
I never liked that. I never wanted that. But I'm leery with the unproven product that is usually out there on that football field. If I put it in your hands, what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
So let me take it out of your hands. Let me just call it conservative. Okay, we'll get there. We'll kick a field goal. And then Q's going to bring up a great point on that blocked field goal because I think I didn't know until he pointed it out, but these are things that these players need to be aware of. People are studying you. Yep. You got to be ready to play. So, I think Q, I'll let you take it away from there.
Yeah, I mean, film study, the guy that blocked the kick to win the game said that he was told all week long by their coaches that, hey, right before the Raiders kick their field goal, their long snapper moves the ball. And so they were tipped off early in the game that's what their tendencies is. That's all film study, right? You pick up these tendencies by watching film. And so that's what happened. And they said earlier in the game, they felt like that they were going to get to a couple of those kicks. They didn't. They got to the one that they had to have. So just tendencies right there will let you know exactly what happens. And that's the problem. And that's good coaching. That's good film study. That's good awareness to be able to communicate that to your players and then go out there and let them execute it. And they did, right? But at the end of the day, like I've been telling a lot of people, it should have never came down to a 50-yard, 4-yard field goal. Should have never came down. The Raiders should have won that game going away, right? Geno has a bad pass in the end zone, or not in the end zone, short of the end zone to Thornton, that he goes down, and granted, he should have caught it, but it was a bad pass. It wasn't a good pass. He had it really low. He might have been short of the goal line anyway, even if he does catch it. I think Jeanty was open on the other side, but it just was an all-around bad performance. They had a chance to put the Bears away, and they didn't. When you do that and you let a team hang around, you know what happens? You lose.
Sure.
That's what happened. They lost.
Yeah, it was definitely a heartbreaking loss for the Raiders and Raider fans everywhere. Coming up in the next segment, keep your questions and comments coming. Drop them in the chat because Q and Linc are going to be answering some of your questions, taking some of your comments in the next segment. You're watching or listening to the Raider Squad Show. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So whether you're a casual fan or you love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Welcome back, Raider Nation. Remember, if you like the content, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. You can also follow us on our social media channels. You'll see in the description below the ways that you can connect with us. And guys, we've gotten a lot of comments throughout the show. And I think the thing is that sometimes we don't have a chance to get to all of the comments. So I thought we take kind of, a couple more minutes to do that. Some of the questions and comments are crazy. So we'll get with the crazy one right now.
Can I get a crazy one real quick?
Yeah, P3. What if SpyTech traded Geno for Jameis Winston? Would there be any difference?
Wow, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Jameis notoriously throughout his
interception machine.
Yeah, he's an interception machine. He loves to throw the other team. Why would you trade one bad man for another?
I did not.
Chantel, can you get the one that says that they want to see me try to catch an NFL football?
Oh, yeah, I did see that one.
That one's funny to me.
Okay.
Only because I got a great point of it. Because, I know where this is coming from. I said that Dante Thornton Jr. should have caught the ball, but it was a bad pass. Yes. The difference is he's an NFL wide receiver. I'm not. So, yeah, guess what? I'm going to drop the ball. You're absolutely right. And when I did play, I played defense. You know what defensive guys do? Can't catch. I can tell you that right now. But I'm not an NFL wide receiver, so I want to see you catch an NFL football.
Look.
Fired up. He's fired up.
Hey, man, I'm just saying. Come on now. What are we doing? Is this what we turn to?
Yeah.
Oh, you catch the ball, Q. I'm not an NFL wide receiver.
You think that was bad? Someone wrote a comment like we should put Chantola at center. Why? That makes no sense.
What are we doing? That's so wild.
Yeah. All right, let's go to Robbie, who says, what quarterback should be watching college? Possible Geno replacements for next year. People are already starting their draft boards. Wow. Are you guys keeping an eye on anybody in college that you're like, hey, he's a good quarterback?
No.
Yeah.
No, I do like I like Dampier at Utah. Devin Dampier. He came from New Mexico. He was a transfer, but it's so early in the process right now. I'm gonna let those guys go ahead and play it out.
A rookie does nothing for me until he gets on this level. I don't evaluate rookies. I make it a point not to speculate. I know there are so many college football players out there. It's almost impossible to break down every player, every position. And so when we get these questions, it's really premature to ask about next year's draft right now.
Right.
I'm still trying to figure out this damn team before I can tell you what we need, and where we should go and who might have that. But, look, I know how hard it is to play on this level. And I'm not taking anything away from the college kids, but there is so much coverage out there and so much hype around players. Look at Manning in Texas.
Right.
There's so much hype about these
all
players.
That hype, and then
you can get food very quickly. Oh, we should go after him. We should go after. Let the coaches coach.
Right.
Let the players play. Rookies, you stay on the rookie level until you show me you can do something on this level. Until then, you're just a college guy. You're not even important to me.
I'm gonna go outside. I'm gonna get my gloves on. I'm going outside.
Look what you got my boy all fired up. You got him all fired up. See what you did?
I'm gonna go rest some routes outside. No,
you see what you did?
All right, guys. This one is actually this was the crazy one that I was talking about because you remember how I said Aiden O'Connell has like a beehive like Beyonce?
Oh yeah,
they are back and in full effect.
I know that.
So James from Twitter says Geno lost the competition in training camp to Aiden O'Connell. The media were not honest about reporting it, and Aiden was on fire in camp and suppressed this every chance. Yeah, we definitely know that. And he says, I said it would take 5 games before fans would see the difference between Aiden and Geno. It only took 4. Do you guys believe that there was a conspiracy theory against Aiden O'Connell?
No.
Right. I mean, again, and I know who James is. James is a big time Aiden O'Connell supporter, which is fine. I'm good with that. Man. But I can't understand how someone who was not at camp every single day could tell us who were at camp every single day what was happening and what wasn't. Look, Aiden had moments where he was good, and he had moments where he wasn't. Geno had moments where he was good. Geno had moments where he wasn't. But at the end of the day, they already had let it be known that Geno was the starting quarterback, right? We talk about compete. Geno was going to be the starting quarterback. Aiden O'Connell has had a few opportunities, and every time he has an opportunity, unfortunately, he gets banged up and something happens, and it sucks. It sucks to not ever feel like you have that real chance to prove what you can do. Sometimes that happens. I don't think any of us know exactly who Aiden O'Connell is. I comfortably said the other day on the radio that when Geno got sacked 5 times against the Commanders, O'Connell probably would have got sacked 10 times, right. And I had people push back. No, he wouldn't have. He would have got out of there. Okay, so he all of a sudden now is like fleet-footed. So it's just I I don't know what people want. Like, I mean, it is what it is. O'Connell, I think that he's a hell of a teammate. I think that he has a potential to be a quarterback in the league, but every time he has that chance with the Raiders, something goes wrong. Injury, or they make a bad decision, like go to Minshew as opposed to him. Like, I don't know. I don't have the answer for it, but what I can tell you 100%, 10 toes down, no doubt about it, he did not beat out Geno Smith in training camp. He did not. I was there every single day.
If I was Aiden O'Connell right now, I wouldn't even know how to put on my shoes left and right because I've had so many people in my ear tell me what I should do.
Like 15 play callers, right?
I mean, look, I still think Aiden is capable of playing on this league.
I do too.
On this level. I think you need to get him in the right system. I think you need to coach him and have the right pieces around him. Right now, the Raiders are so far away from that. You throw him back in there, he's going to get hurt again because they couldn't protect him. That's how he got hurt in the first place.
Right.
That's how he got hurt last year.
Yep.
Couldn't protect him. Can't protect him. This offensive line is still trying to figure it out. So even when they have a good day, should we keep our fingers crossed? Okay, the offensive line had a good day. Now Aiden should have a good day. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
You can't time that up. So, I love the fact where people want to sit there and say, well, this is how you should do it. And these are these armchair quarterbacks and armchair coaches, and everybody thinks they know what's best for the organization. Let the coaches coach. Let the players play. And then the true evaluation was not Aiden O'Connell did not beat Geno Smith in training camp. He did not. But yeah. I think he can play. I just don't think it might not be with the Raiders, but I think he can play.
I'll say this. I think Aiden O'Connell has a great fan base, and I love that for him. But I think Geno is just the better quarterback. Like, let's be serious. He won up the position. We knew Geno was going to be that guy, and hopefully Aiden has a speedy recovery. But my question to you guys is, if Geno continues to play poorly and continues to throw interceptions.
I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
I knew it was coming.
Hey, it has to go, okay?
I knew it was coming, Shanty. I knew it.
We always talk about the bye week, but say Geno struggles and like the next couple of games are pretty winnable, but say Geno continues to be on this trend, because sometimes it's like in your mind mentally where you're struggling. It's not, you know what I mean? If you're Pete Carroll, when would you want to make that switch if you were to make a switch this season?
I don't think a switch is coming.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any switch coming unless there's injury. To be honest, I mean and then that might be a cop out of the answer or the question, but I don't think that Pete Carroll has any intention whatsoever of moving Geno off that spot unless he gets injured.
I think in this place, if I were Chip Kelly and I were Pete Carroll, this is what I would do. I would try to refine some of the things we're doing on offense. I would explore the different possibilities with my starter, Geno Smith.
Mm-hmm.
What if we took you out of shotgun? What if we put you under center? What if we, did do some things differently, just to throw a little wrinkle in, see how they respond, see what the results are when you play. If you can get some continuity out of it, you can get some consistency out of it. That would be my first option. I would not make a quarterback change until the bye week if I was looking at that. And I don't even think they're going there because I don't think you have anybody who's capable, we're ready to go in there and play.
Right.
I just don't. Yeah. And even the bye week is not going to give you a whole lot of time. It's just something you don't see a lot of teams able to do without injury, without being forced in that situation, because there's so much you have to cover. You just don't have the ability to do it. And I know people are sitting at home like, well, this is their job. This is what they get paid for. They still got rules within the CBA. You're only allowed so many hours at the facility, which I hate, by the way. I cannot stand. This is your professional. I don't care if you stay 24 hours. Get a bed there, but it doesn't happen. So, when these guys go away, a lot of things fall out. They don't respond way. They're trying to do, they have lives, they got families, got all these other things, distractions. It's hard to get somebody to focus in on, hey, Q, this is what we're going to change up. We're going to go from a triangle offense to shoot two straight up spot with as a shooting guard.
Right.
I'm going to work a 1-2 punch. You can't change that overnight.
Right.
It doesn't work like that. So be careful what you ask for, careful what you wish for. It just doesn't work that simple or that quickly.
Yeah, and Chris A says, got to ride it out. That's exactly what Raider fans got to do. Raider Nation, we got to ride this out, and we got to give Geno another chance. They have I would say a tough game. They're on the road next against the Colts, I believe. And we'll be previewing that game on Thursday, 7:30 a.m. Pacific time, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. If that changes, we'll let you know on our social media channels. Raider Nation, thanks so much for rocking out with us this morning and obviously giving your questions and comments. And remember, if you like the content, hit that like and subscribe button. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. We'll be back on Thursday.